Have you ever heard that phrase, men suffer under the patriarchy? Well, I want to coin a new phrase, and I really hope it catches on. Women suffer under feminism. I'm not talking about the feminism that respects femininity and actually empowers women. I'm talking about that disgusting new form of feminism that we see that's all about man-hating and just removing shame for any female action. Women suffer under that type of feminism. And maybe, just maybe, us men who have more traditional style values, we're actually more effective in protecting the rights of women and looking out for their interests. That's what I suspect, that men like me actually care more about the mental health and well-being of women than those other kinds of feminists. And I think I've been proved right. There was this post on Reddit that was so revealing. It was called Older Women of Reddit. What's something you notice younger girls do that worries you? Now, as a man who speaks about female behavior often in a very critical way and always has to second guess myself, like, am I actually coming from a good place? Everyone seems to think that I'm misogynistic or I'm anti-women. Like, what does my conscience say? I found this thread completely vindicating. So please excuse me if I lose whatever dignity and grace that I ordinarily show in my videos as I just shamelessly bask in the glow of my I told you so energy. It's just so validating to hear older women express their opinions about the younger generation of women and feel completely in alignment. I think that some of the behaviors that young women are engaging in these days are really harmful, really trashy, and older women agree with me. I'm so glad that I saw this thread when I did and that I took screenshots because the thread is now locked. Here's the comment from one of the moderators. Nobody's allowed to post on this thread anymore. My guess is that it was too threatening to have all of this criticism of women and female behavior. I think it was just hitting a little bit too close to home because none of these criticisms were coming from a man, so you can't blame it on misogyny. These are criticisms coming from women. So this is what we're going to do in today's video. We're going to explore the criticisms made by older women of the younger generation, their actions and their values. But first, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video. I have always loved trees, and the sponsor of today's video, Established Titles, has created a fun and unique way to help preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland. This is my certificate issued to Lord Alexander Grace, bequeathing me 1 square foot of woodlands in a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, with my own unique plot number. I've been told that the first 200 people who purchase the title pack using my link are going to have their plots effectively next to mine, which means we'll have our own little kingdom. On top of preservation, Established Titles is also working with global charities One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to plant a new tree with every order. But in addition to the environmental benefits, Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. So as a landowner in Scotland, you can now officially include the title Lord or Lady on things like credit cards, airplane tickets, dating profiles. People love this product. It's fun, it's quirky, it makes a great last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running a massive Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use the code Alexander, you're going to get an additional 10% off. So go to establishedtitles.com/Alexander. Get your gift now and help support the channel. Okay, it's time. Let's get into the post. Older women of Reddit. What's something you notice younger girls do that worries you? First off, this was the most popular comment. Surgeries, fillers, Botox. Younger girls are ruining their faces. I hate seeing it. 100%. They look weird and gross. This plastic surgery obsession, that's not feminine empowerment. Age gracefully with some dignity. Stop focusing so much on appearance. Let's just acknowledge the fact that it's low-quality women who know that they have nothing else to offer men other than sex and looking pretty that are going to focus so much on the superficial appearances. They focus so much on their looks because that's all they have going for them. There's no depth. High-quality women, by contrast, develop character, intelligence, self-esteem, putting their whole life online and using it to seek validation from others. Absolutely, yes, I've criticized this numerous times. A woman whose self-esteem is based on how many social media engagements she gets is a low-quality woman. There's no substance to a woman whose self-worth is wrapped up in how many likes she gets, how many mindless simps follow her, how famous she is. High-quality women, by contrast, have a real identity in the real world beyond social media. We need to stop pretending that all these glossy social media accounts are somehow a vehicle for feminine empowerment. They're not. They're exploitative. It reinforces what real feminists have been complaining about for so long, which is that women are more than just their looks. Pointing that out pisses off all the new wave feminists, but I don't know why. Dressing slutty is not empowering. I've said that so many times, and guess what? Older women agree with me. They don't like the promiscuity culture. They don't think that casual sex, when had by women, is empowering. Being hypersexualized in dress, actions, pictures, online presence, etc. is somehow being a feminist? Sure, own your sexuality, but if your entire identity is that you are a fucktoy, then you are just a fucktoy, and we are back where we started. Still sex objects whose only worth is the pleasure that we give men. How many times have you guys heard me make this point, that it is absolutely ridiculous for a woman to consider it to be feminist of her to reduce herself to an object of sexual pleasure for men? Being a sex object, dressing slutty, being judged based on your appearance is not empowering. It's not feminist. This is such an emperor has no clothes situation. Why is nobody speaking out about this? It's so obvious. Who's falling for this doublethink? You want to know what actually happened is that there are a bunch of slutty women who didn't want to be judged for being promiscuous, right? And so what they did was they co-opted the term feminism and empowerment, and then they started convincing everybody that if you're criticizing them and their choices, then you're just being patriarchal and sexist. You're part of the problem. Nobody wanted to be anti-feminist because nobody wanted to be anti-women, and so it was very effective. People stopped criticizing. But there's no legitimacy to that strategy whatsoever. They weren't fighting for some noble cause. They just didn't want to be called out. They didn't want to be judged. They used feminism as a smokescreen to protect them from criticism. They didn't want to feel ashamed of the fact that they're giving in to their basest instincts and acting like trashy women, sleeping with any man, having no standards. And guess what? It worked. It was very effective as a strategy, claiming that all that promiscuity was feminism, because other women lacked the courage to actually call them out on it. And when nobody calls bullshit, what happens is that the idea of feminism just devolves until it means nothing. It's become a catch-all ideology that really has no standards to it. It's just a case of, well, if a woman's doing it and it's her choice, then we can't judge it. That's why so few people actually identify as feminists anymore, because the movement lost its soul. There's only a small percentage of the population that's genuinely misogynistic, that doesn't want women to have rights, that believes in male supremacy. Mostly everybody is pro-women. They want women to have respect, opportunities, equal rights. What they don't want to be told is that if they have concerns about their daughter dressing like a porn star, then they're not feminists. They're not allies of the cause. They don't support women. Nobody's buying it anymore. Sure, people are probably too afraid to speak the truth because of how loud and vicious that minority of young women can be. But young women acting slutty and being really promiscuous, that's not some feminist utopia. Of course not. It's more like a man's fantasy land. To any young women who fell for this propaganda, I'm so sorry. They fooled you, and there's nothing to be gained by sacrificing your dignity and your femininity and acting like a whore. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again because I really want this phrase to catch on. Women suffer under feminism. In a lot of ways, traditional values, which actually value femininity, does a much better job at protecting the interests of women. Like in this instance, idolizing sex work. Yes, this. Women go on TikTok making videos glorifying sex work. On Instagram, there are sugar babies posting about their lavish lifestyles all the time, and young, impressionable girls eat this up. It's very sad and all lies. The sex work thing is the most appalling. Like, how is this not the wake-up call that our society needs in order to tell us, okay, this has gone too far? Like, if you're a sex worker, I get that it sucks, that you don't want to be judged. Life is hard enough. You don't want to deal with any additional stigma. You don't want to feel ashamed of yourself, and so you try and act like it's all empowering. But can you please consider the price that's being paid by the younger generation of women for your inability to feel shame? You are sending young women in exactly the wrong direction. To act like sex work is an empowering choice is disgusting. You know, like, yeah, make that money, get that bag, fuck all men, just use them for their cash, who cares? To sell that as feminism, as though that's empowering to women, is like evil. Any 18-year-old girls listening to this channel, listening to this video right now, please pay attention to what I'm about to say. There is nothing empowering about being a hooker, selling your body, catering to men's sexual desires. There's nothing empowering about you taking naked photos of yourself and then posting them online so that men can pleasure themselves to your image. That is not empowering, and anybody who tells you that it is lying to you, because they're threatened by your dignity. They're threatened by your potential to become a high-quality woman, to rise above all of that. That's threatening to them because it shows how low quality they are, that they couldn't rise that high. They sunk down to the very bottom, and they're trying to pull you down as well so that they don't feel so bad about their choices. Don't let them. I don't care that they're calling it feminism. I don't care that they're calling it empowering. It's not. And older women agree with me. Your body is sacred. Sex is sacred. There's nothing empowering about not valuing it and then just giving it away online to strangers or having casual sex. Casual sex for social validation, or even sex with exclusive partner when they don't feel like it for the sake of validation as well. In general, having sex not because they want to, but to fill the void and seek validation from men. Girls, don't do it. Please take their advice. These older women know what it's like and they're telling you not to do it. I know I'm not meant to have an opinion on this because I'm a man, and so who am I to judge women? I'm just being misogynistic or whatever. But you should know the advice that I give on my channel, which says that men should not be getting into relationships with women who are really promiscuous, who have lots of casual sex, isn't just some random invention of mine. I'm speaking to a deep part of the male psyche which already exists, which tells them to be wary of these kinds of girls. We have massive imprinted biological incentives warning us against hooking up with promiscuous women. I encourage the men on my channel to go after high quality women, women of integrity, character, good values, intelligence, creativity, they're feminine, they're kind. That's the real path to a genuine self-esteem. The cheap, easy path to feel good about yourself is just to seek validation in the arms of a man. But men don't respect that. They're not attracted to women like that. And it's harmful because the more you do it, even if you get some temporary self-esteem boost, ultimately, in the long term, it's going to decrease your feelings of self-worth because you're going to be left with the inescapable conclusion that the only thing that you have to offer men is your body. Every time you have one of these short-term casual sex hookups, you are harming your chances of getting a high-quality man in the future. Because the really top-tier guys don't want to be with women who've had a lot of partners because it's not attractive. It shows that she has no self-esteem, no standards. She'll sleep with anyone, and so what's special about being with her? A piece of advice to any women out there who are interested in saving the credibility of feminism: you have to start instituting some basic standards of female behavior, saying this is empowering, this is not. Because if you just have this Wild West, anything goes as long as a woman does it, then you have no credibility. Hookers selling their bodies to men, not feminists. Slutty women who sleep with men for validation, not feminists. Gold diggers who exploit men for their resources, not feminists. Pop singers who dress like porn stars, who dance around naked on stage and release these really erotic music video clips and tell their audience of impressionable young girls that they're being a feminist and they're being empowered by showing so much skin. No, you have to disown those women. They are not feminists. They're lying. They're selfish grifters who are trying to make as much money as possible, and they're selling out their own gender by doing it. That's one of the things that infuriates me the most, is that those selfish individuals who are using feminism as some smokescreen against criticism so they can be slutty and try and make all that money off men, the price is so high, they're passing that cost off to the younger generations. This last post is probably the most depressing of all of them. Not questioning the normalization of pornified violent sex. And no, I'm not saying it's their fault at all. It's just fucking depressing reading article after article where young women and even teenage girls are talking about how they're pressured into tolerating getting choked and hit because they don't want to be seen as boring. It's equally depressing seeing other young women joining the choir to mock the ones considered vanilla, only solidifying the norms and further increasing the pressure. I hate it. In the discussion under that comment, a lot of women were talking about how on Reddit you'll see 14 or 15-year-old girls claiming that they're kinky, that they have kinks. A teenage girl should not have kinks. This should be a wake-up call. It's gone too far. And women, I understand that you don't like the idea of men stepping in and being the morality police. You don't want fathers involved in their daughters' lives, monitoring what they're doing online, telling them how to dress. And yeah, I might agree with you, there's something a little bit weird about a father getting too involved in his daughter's exploration of sexuality. I don't think any father is particularly excited to do that, but they didn't used to have to. Women used to do that. They used to raise their daughters with some morality, with some standards, letting them know what was appropriate and when they're stepping too far out of line and it was going to be harmful to them. But the modern generation of women are failing in their task. They're bad role models. I mean, that's horrific. That last post that we read, 4,200 people had upvoted that. That was actually the second most popular post in the whole thread, which means that thousands of women sign off on that being a reality. They've seen teenage girls be pressured like this. Where are the mothers? Where are the women who care about their daughters enough to say, no, we're going to protect your dignity. We're going to protect your virtue. We're going to protect your femininity. Sex is a beautiful thing. Your body is natural. Feel free to masturbate, be empowered in all of these ways, but not by discussing kinks with strangers online and sending them nudes. Not by submitting to all of your boyfriend's whims because he wants to reenact the things he's seen in porn when the two of you are 15. We need some basic standards, and women need to rediscover the virtue of shame. I know modern society is like, oh, shame's such a terrible thing or whatever. But that's too simplistic. Sometimes shame is the appropriate emotion to feel if you're acting in a really terrible way. And here's the thing is that if as a woman you have no shame at all for any of your behaviors, then how on earth are you going to be able to teach your daughter when she's gone too far? If your daughter is acting selfish or entitled or manipulative or slutty, then she should feel ashamed about that. That's going to stop that behavior. But the new wave of feminism has done such a good job at just convincing everybody that women, no matter what, any of their choices, should not feel shame. And it's created this absolute vacuum of standards in young women. And guess who's stepping into that vacuum? Sleazy old men who go, oh, good, these young women have no standards, no boundaries. Great, I can exploit that for my own sexual gratification. These guys love new wave feminism. We are failing the young girls in our society, and they are paying the price for the cowardice of the generation of women that came before them. I'm grateful that there are older women out there who can see through this, and at least on this Reddit thread are speaking up. Hopefully their voices become louder, and hopefully they recognize that even though I'm a man, I'm an ally. The best thing that we can do for women is to protect their femininity, not to denigrate it. Now, if you like my content, you like my videos, and you want to get to know me, my worldview at a much deeper level, I've got 3 options for you. The first and most affordable is simply to join my Patreon. It's quite cheap. It's only $5. I think the value is absolutely tremendous because I never raise the price, even though more content gets added every single week. At this stage, we have over 250 exclusive videos, including my most recent one, which is how to handle the finances if you out-earn your girlfriend. Because you earn more than she does, should you be paying for dinner? Should you be paying more in rent? What are you going to do when you get married? It's the kind of in-depth discussion which is really important and interesting, but isn't really sort of sexy or clickbaity enough for YouTube. So it goes onto my Patreon. But if you need some actual advice for your personal life, like your relationships, you're going through some struggles with your girlfriend, or you can't seem to find many dates and you want to get my thoughts on it, then reach out to me on Hey Hero. That's the platform where you tell me what you're going through, and then I create a video, a personalized video for you with all of my advice. And finally, I want to recommend my paid course, 100 Sides of Women. This is by far the most in-depth thing that you can do. It's a series of video exams using real stories that people have sent me where I test you based on your knowledge of female psychology, trying to predict people's behavior and giving people advice. It's also incredibly informative because as well as testing what you know, I also educate you as to what's going on. There's 6.5 hours of video footage in it. There's a free trial, like a free preview. You can see one of the exams for free. Just click on the link down below. It'll take you to the video that explains the whole course. I highly recommend it.